Good day to you all, our dear friends. It's I, Urias here, and we'd like to welcome you to our monthly topic. And this is going to be over a number of months regarding and about the mind. The mind and its attributes, mindfulness, mindfulness, all about meditation, all about what is or are the attributes of the mind. You know, you have got within your mind, you've got your higher mind, your lower mind. You've got the mind that merges with the 7 major chakra points at any moment of the day. And you have your memory mind, mind of your memory, subconscious mind, and supra mind. So there are quite a lot of areas of the mind. And when we start today's program, we're going to look at the mind and how it really works and what is the mind itself. You could say, well, Urias, where is the mind? And people will say, well, it's up in my head region here, or in the brain hemisphere. Well, the mind merges around this area in the frontal lobe and towards the middle area there. And when you're thinking, your attention is in this area. It's not at the end of your fingers, or down in your toes. When you are thinking with your mind, you are around this region up here because you can feel it. But you cannot see the mind. You cannot see the mind, but you know the mind is there. When you think about it, you know each one of you have a mind. But number one, you cannot see the mind. But number two, you know you have a mind because even though you can't see it, you know that it's there. So, what are the attributes of the mind and its operation? And is the mind part of me? Well, our dear ones, the mind, of course, merges through consciousness of your divine spirit within. One could say the mind is a tool for you to utilize your thought patterns and how you speak. You can think about things in your mind and then you can talk them out, or you can talk to people and then think about what has been said, and you can run it through the mind without you even opening your mouth. So, I think a lot of people just think, well, here is the mind and it's part of me, etc. But really, when you look deeper into it and just understand, what is the mind, well, it's for yourselves in creation. So that, as I said before, utilizing your thought patterns then and through consciousness, that is the channel as to where it manifests itself within the mind. And when you think about this, you can go back to when you were a little child and think about, different things that happened then. And that is merging into the memory part of the mind. And the memory part always stays with you on and through each incarnation. So the mind you are utilizing now is still part of you, but not of you, but it's not of past life areas or future lives to come. It is how you are seeing your life in this particular voyage. So your mind has been in operation, not just in the physical universe itself, but also in the astral universe and the causal universe, if any. So when you think about that, you have your memory, yes, but when you deeply think, you cannot really go into past life areas with your physical mind, just by thinking. So what I'm saying here is that just during the day, if you think, well, what was I in my past life, or 100 lifetimes ago, or 200 lifetimes ago, the mind's not bringing it to you. You understand. But there are ways to go through into those areas, but we're just looking at the mind. So the mind in each incarnation gives you opportunities to, of course, express yourself. and say what you want to say, and start to act and set your goals and do what you want to do. If you want to travel, it has areas there that you can set yourself goals on those areas. So the mind itself is very powerful when you look deeper into it. But what reduces the power of the mind are, of course, individualized thoughts. Now, these are thought patterns of yourself. As you're going throughout your day to day, and if you're driving your car, you're thinking, where do I need to go? Which way do I turn here? All these patternic areas are going into your mind consciousness. And they are then become thought particles. And so the mind starts then to get very powerfully full of thoughts. You can just think about this. You can just sit down if you want to, just for a little moment, and think about today, think about yesterday, think about last week, and areas that you have to do, areas that you haven't done, what are your problems in life and what can you overcome, and all these areas. Well, when you are thinking about these, then they start, the mind, these are the thoughts which merge into the mind, start to merge into patternic areas. It's like a jigsaw puzzle. You could have 1,000 pieces to a jigsaw puzzle, scatter them all out. They're still the jigsaw puzzle, but they're in different particles. It's only when you put them together, then you see the whole finished product. So it's like your mind has so many thoughts, and they become like particles of a jigsaw puzzle. And it's only when you start to merge into them that they start to merge, and you start to take and receive those pictures. But also, one must also remember too, our dear ones, is the egoity, and what role does it play in the mind. I think people think about the egoity, people may call it the ego, and you could say, well, Urias, how do you mean? Well, the egoity is always with you. Your mind is here, the egoity sits in the medulla oblongata, at the base of your skull there where the soft part is. That's where the egoity lies. You have your spiritual eye here, mind consciousness here, your whole brain hemisphere here, the 1,000-petal lotus. But the egoity is still there too. And one must look deeper into why the egoity, because the egoity wants to keep you into the physical senses of your life, the material aspects of your life. It does not want to let go or let you let go of that. And so, therefore, that's why mind thoughts can start to really build up in your mind. And think about this, when you come home from work, or you've had a hard day, and you sit down, instead of sitting down and being beautifully calm and very pleased with yourself at what you have done today, all of a sudden you sit down and your whole mind starts to reveal all these thoughts that have happened during the day, and what you haven't done and what you should have done, and this person said that and that person said that. Or you bring home with you all your work from your work conditions. And so you sit down, and there's, you yourself trying to be nice and calm, and yet the mind is going, as you call it, 20 to the dozen. Round and round and round goes all these thoughts, etc. here like that. So that becomes then like, we'd call it like a cluttered mind. And when the mind is very, very cluttered like that, then the power of the mind is still there, but not as expanded as it normally is. And that's where it becomes very difficult to achieve what you want to achieve, or to achieve your goals, or to work out your problems. Why? Because the mind is just fully, full of mind thoughts. You see, like that. So the mind itself, you could say, well, Urias, how large is the mind? Well, you only see it basically around within your brain hemisphere. But the mind itself can hold, multi-billions, if you like, of thought patterns, which it does from past lives, but you only see it yourself in this life with your mind patterns and thoughts. So, even though you can look at a picture of the whole brain and where the mind is, and you say, well, it's this big, etc., or this big or that big. Well, it's really, really expanded tremendously out, much, much, much larger than what you think it is. So that's why people, our dear ones, sometimes have difficulties in, achieving their goals, because the mind is so cluttered up with thoughts. And when you think about the mind and its little attributes, what can it bring on to someone? Of course, think about it, it can bring stress, it can bring worries, it can bring cares, it can bring anxieties, it can bring problems, it can bring nervousness, it can bring fear. When you start to deeply think about it, all through the mind, all these, vibrations of consciousness, as you merge them into thought patterns, can bring towards you, not in a positive way, but in a negative way. So, when you look deeper and deeper and deeper, you can see how powerful the mind is. Do you understand? With all your worries and cares and fears and everything like that. And when you start with the mind to bring stress into the body, and remember, the mind is the channel for your consciousness as you are working at your work or whatever you are doing, and then you're bringing all the stress into your body, into your life, one must start to think, well, how powerful or what does the mind play in the body functions? Well, it can play a very powerful areas of thought. If you start to become very, fearful or very, negative and worried and full of all these areas of, your day-to-day lives, etc., then of course it can put strains on your major organs like your heart and your liver and your kidneys, your lungs and everything like that. So, we don't want you to start living a life that way, which a lot of people do upon the earth plane. And maybe a lot of people don't think about this, about the mind itself and, how really powerful it is, but how it gets clogged up with all these thoughts. And so with all, people's stress and worries, anxieties, etc., like so, then, your whole body is not functioning as powerfully as it should be or can be. So, all right, you could say, well, Urias, what can I do to rectify this problem? I don't want to be full in my life of worries and cares, anxieties and stress and problems and fears and nervousness, like that. And of course, nobody does. Everyone wants to be happy and joyful, not those negative thoughts. And it's through the mind that all those thoughts start to manifest. It's not through your physical heart or your lungs or your kidneys or your liver. It's not through your fingers or your thumbs or your hands or your legs or your head, but it's through the channel of the mind. And remember, the mind is there for you as a tool to work with. But most people do not see that. They just continue on their lives, and go throughout their lives, and this happens and then that happens, and, the next minute they're full of, financial worries and cares or whatever. Do you see? So one must remember, our dear ones, that what you are thinking in your mind also, and what thoughts are there, affects the body also. So, as we delve and delve and delve and delve deeper and deeper and deeper into all these attributes of the mind, then, one could say, well, Urias, what is the way to, clear those away? And of course, there are many areas or many avenues for yourself to clear those ways. And people now are really starting to become much, much more aware of the mind and, what the mind will do and what it can do. Do you see? So, you have, as in the beginning, as I mentioned, mindfulness, you have all meditation techniques and all areas like that, which we will discuss and delve into as we merge further along. But, today we're just trying to give you all these little different attributes that come into your mind. And remember, I mentioned before your 7 major chakra points, which merge up the spinal column. And most people are aware of the 7 major chakras. You have other minor chakra points, of course. But, when you are merging on your day-to-day life with your mind and your thoughts in there, well, you're manifesting from one of those 7 chakra points. You see? And maybe a lot of people don't realize that, but yes, you are. So, when you are full of love and the light of God, and, you just want to do good for people, then of course you're in your heart chakra and the higher chakras. If you're, working very hard at your work, etc., and you're doing this and doing that and getting on with your life, then, the solar plexus chakra is very powerful. And, most people know the attributes of the 7 major chakra points. So at all time, during your whole day, then you can very powerfully and quickly see where you are resonating in what particular chakra point. You see, and I think a lot of people may not have even thought of that at all. So, it's good to have a look at, the mind and the memory, the memory and the short-term memory people may have, and long-term memory, and you can just, as I said before, you can sit there and go back over your life, and you can remember most things. So, what we want you to do, our dear ones, is realize the importance of the physical mind, and to realize the power of the physical mind, which most people do not. They do not realize the whole potential, what lies within the physical mind. Why? Because most of the time it's cluttered up with thought, patterns of thought, there within everyone. So it's a good idea, our dear ones, just to think about what we have said, ponder on it, and think about all those areas.